The UPSC CSE arena is an ever-evolving space where staying up to date becomes as crucial as maintaining a thorough preparation. With strategic planning and holistic coverage for exam syllabus, Vision IS Delhi presents GS Foundation course. Avail analysis and integration of current affairs with GS syllabus. All India test series with an innovative assessment system, inculcating post-test analysis, discussion, All India ranking, and more. Explore the holistic learning modules intrinsically designed for the ideal aspirant.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so how many of you have actually written the mains this year? Okay, or? All right. Okay, so how was the experience? Good? You're satisfied with your performance? Acha, okay. All right. Okay, and how many of you have ever written a mains? Mains? Nahi? Sab next year likhenge. Okay, all right, fine. All right. Let's start. You guys have been sitting for a very long time, so well done on that. Okay. Have you seen the paper? Have you seen the questions of environment and disaster management? So do you think they were on expected lines? Huh? Kya the questions? Acha, chalo, let's quickly rush through things. This is the weightage of environment and disaster management section this year. Okay. This is one deviation from the trend that every year we see there are more questions or more weightage marks wise in environment than in disaster management. But this year we see a trend that there is greater weightage of disaster management. There are two 15 marker questions vis-a-vis environment, which has two. Thank you. Which has two 10 marker questions. Okay. All right. So let's start. For every question that we will read today in this analysis, we will see certain points, okay? First point that we will see is that why was this question asked? What is the motivation behind asking this question? So that we can understand the trends for future, that in case UPSC asks a questions, what could be the possible reasons, right? So we can predict some questions. Number two, the second thing that we will see in every question is the keywords that the question has. That means what is the expected answer from us, all right? Around which the answer should revolve, and those keywords should definitely be a part of our answer. Third thing, we will see something called must-haves and good to have. There, for every answer, there are certain points which should be there in a part, as a part of your answer, certain keywords which the examiner will expect from your answer script. And there are certain points which are good to have. If you have written, very well done. If not, then it's okay. Okay, of course, fact of the matter is that we are scrambling for 1 or 2 marks in every answer, right? So we don't know on which lucky day we might get that, all right? Third thing, we are going to see some of the similar previous year questions that UPSC has asked related to this topic. So we can analyze a trend there. And finally, we will also see answer scripts of certain toppers to questions which are similar, because obviously we don't have answers to the same questions, but questions which are very similar, which they have attempted in the Vision IAS Abhyas test series. Abhyas is conducted just about a month before the mains examination. So you can say this is closely related to what they would have probably attempted in the actual examination. All right, so shall we start? Okay. First question is a 10 marker. Now the issue with 10 marker is there is obviously less time and less space. So we must always remember that. Okay. So let's see. Industrial pollution of river water is a significant environment issue in India. Discuss the various mitigation measures to deal with this problem and also the government's initiatives in this regard. So tell me, what are the keywords according to you in this question? What is the examiner expecting? Industrial pollution. So remember, we are talking about only and only industrial pollution. We are not talking about sewage management. We are not talking about solid waste management. Okay, we are not talking about religious activities. We are not talking about that. We are just focusing on industrial pollution. Then, is a significant environment issue in India. What is the next requirement of the question? Mitigation measures to deal with this problem and also the government's initiatives in this regard. So the answer has to be divided into 3 parts. First part is where we highlight the problem, that yes, you kind of agree with this statement that yes, industrial pollution is a significant environmental issue, especially in the context of river water. Okay. So these two, in fact, are the keywords in this question. So we are talking about industrial pollution and river water. And mitigation measures. One part of the answer will talk about what are the mitigation measures, and the second part will talk about what are the government initiatives. All right? Okay. So what is the motivation behind asking this question? Why government has asked this question? Why UPSC has asked this question? The motivation primarily, of course, see, river pollution and industrial pollution is always in news, so you cannot deny that. It is an important topic which is taught to you in the classes also. But the key motivation here in this year was the amendment of the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Amendment Act 2024. This particular act, that is also known as the Water Act, was amended in 2024 this year because certain provisions. What does this act do? It gives power to the state pollution control boards and central pollution control board to levy fines, okay, to give penalties to industries which are polluting the rivers. Okay, so what had happened in this amendment? In this amendment, certain provisions were diluted. So, जो बहुत ही simpler offences थे, उनके लिए भी jail was, a kind of punishment that was given in the act. those provisions were done away with. So according to some people, that was also a dilution of the act, but according to some people, this was a necessary step for ease of doing business and lesser harassment of industries. Okay, so this was the major motivation why this particular question was asked. Okay, now another important thing to understand here, which you should always remember with respect to this topic, is that this act, that is the Water Act, has been passed under Article 252 of the Constitution. What is Article 252 says? When two or more states together request the Parliament, two or more state legislative assemblies pass a resolution requesting the Parliament to pass a law, that is under Article 252. Okay, so this Water Act, actually when it was passed, it was applicable only to two states. Which two states? Himachal and one more state. Okay, you find out. Okay, which two states? All right, so this particular act therefore was applicable only to those two, the amendment I'm talking about. Okay, once the act has been enacted, the states can adopt this act using passing a resolution in their legislative assemblies. Okay, so apart from this, there were many articles in news which were related to water pollution in rivers. Okay, so this is the motivation of the question. We have understood the keywords also. What are the keywords? The keywords were mitigation measures and government initiatives. These are the two things that had to be answered. So how could you introduce this question? How could you start your introduction? The best way, if you have some data, if you have some statistics or facts related to river pollution or industrial pollution in rivers, so the link has to be, main thing has to be rivers. Okay, so maybe you can talk about, if you don't know the exact data, you can talk about some waterborne illnesses. You can give data according to that. You can highlight that World Bank has highlighted that the health cost attributed to water pollution in India accounts for about 3% of the GDP. Now, these are points, if you have well prepared, good. If not, then also okay. For a generic introduction to such a question, you could have started simply by saying, industrial pollution of rivers in India is a major contributor to water pollution and is caused by a number of factors, so and so. You can start with a normal introduction also, okay? And if not anything, if you know about the recent amendment in the Water Act, that is also a good introduction to start with, okay? So these are some of the data points that you can get access to this PPT. Don't try to jot it down. You will get access to this presentation, okay? So you can note down the important points or some data points that will highlight or kind of agree with the statement that UPSC has already asked. Now, let's come to mitigation measures. Don't forget, it's a 10-marker question. You don't have that kind of time and space. What are we going to do? What could be the mitigation measures according to you? It's very simple. What do you think could be the mitigation measures? Recycling, reuse of wastewater, okay? Don't discharge. So basically, effluent treatment plants before you release water in the rivers. Then strict enforcement of penalties. If there are, you know, any provisions in place, so strict enforcement of that. Adoption of cleaner technologies, simple. And public-private partnerships. So you try to bring in more private organizations in this field of checking industrial pollution, okay? You can also write some other simpler points like construction of sewage treatment plants, regular cleaning and desilting of the river, ban of dumping of waste, encouraging green cover. These are all generic points, but these are not must-haves. Your industrial pollution is related to these. These are all okay, good to have if you have written them. This is generic because the question is generic in nature. It's asking you about the mitigation measures. Now talk about the government initiatives. What are the different government initiatives you know regarding rivers in India? Namami Gange is the first point that comes to your mind, hai na? So you can always talk about Namami Gange. Or what else? See, whenever you have something related to government initiatives, always start with the legislation. The basic thing is you start with the basic legislation. So तुम सबसे पहले वो Water Act itself you could have mentioned. See, this is what happens. You need to understand the broader framework of environmental legislations in India. Once you have understood what legislation deals with what and what are the bodies under that perform, automatically you can write an answer even if you don't know the finer data points. Okay, so अगर आपको Environmental Protection Act पता है, अगर आपको Water Act पता है, under which CPCB, SPCBs, all these bodies function, you can talk about it, right? So first is you can talk about Environment Protection Act and Water Act. Water Act के तहत these bodies have the power to collect samples. जो industries effluents कर रही हैं उसके samples collect करते हैं, data, how much are they polluting, they calculate the biological oxygen demand of river stretches. Obviously पूरी river का तो check नहीं होता है, so certain stretches are identified where industries release or release their effluents, and then their BOD is calculated. So these are finer points. Okay, Namami Gange program, you can mention about it. It establishes sewage treatment plants. It does not allow industry to directly dump water in the rivers. Then Pollution Control Board, same ही point है, effluent discharge standards देता है कि आपको अगर किसी industry को release करना है, so what could be the different standards? So you can mention about that. Government of India has a zero liquid discharge policy. What is the ZLD policy? That there should be zero liquid discharge. Either that water should be recycled and reused, and rest of it should be जो भी बचा है that should be condemned. That should not be put in back into the rivers. Okay, maybe in the form of solid waste you can have, but not liquid discharge. So that is ZLD policy. And finally, National River Conservation Plan. Okay, so these are the points which are must-haves under your government initiatives in this answer that the examiner will expect. Okay, these are the must-have points. Okay, apart from this, some good to have points, if you have mentioned about them. Good to have points, what are the specific steps that the government has taken? So जैसे specific discharge standards बता दिए कि इस standard का discharge होना चाहिए, उनको revise किया है from time to time. Okay, then there is an issuance of consent based on Comprehensive Environment Pollution Index. So the industries are given a consent that yes, you can discharge so and so based on this particular index, because this index helps you identify critically polluted areas. Okay, so once this is identified, then consent is issued based on that. Okay, then grossly polluting industries are identified. These are all good to have points. Obviously this is all more thoda sa finer details, but if you have written them or if you do include them in your answer, it is very good. Of all these points, एक सबसे important point which is there is the common effluent treatment plants. Common effluent treatment plants. Now what happens? See, India mein industries, there is not every industry is a large scale industry, right? ऐसा नहीं कि हर जगह बड़ी-बड़ी massive factories हैं. If you see across the Ganga stretch also, what kind of industries are mainly polluting? What kind of industries? Leather, tanneries or slaughterhouses. These are all small scale units which are operating at a very small level. तो आप हर unit का जा के you cannot check what they are discharging into the river, right? So for those kind of units and for those kind of industries, there is something called common effluent treatment plants. That means these places, all these kinds, let's say slaughterhouses or these tanneries or whatever, ये सारी जो industries हैं, they'll be probably located in a common zone. And then उस common zone का जो treatment effluents है, उसका treatment किया जाए before discharging it into the river. Okay, so this is also one good point. And of course, you can talk about the orders of the National Green Tribunal, that according to National Green Tribunal also, these regular review and monitoring and implementation of these programs should be undertaken. Okay, बस यही है. It's a 10 marker question. Okay, of all these points, even if you are able to retain 4 or 5 major points from each of these sections, that is mitigation measures and government initiatives, that is good. All right, clear? Okay, examples दो polluted rivers के. यमुना, गंगा, ये तो बेसिक ही है, ठीक है. सो यू कैन ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट दैट. और मोस्ट पोल्यूटेड रिवर्स इन इंडिया, और कहाँ कहाँ हैं? Now, this is how preparation has to be done. So look, all of you, most of you have not attempted this year's paper. So this is good for those who have attempted and probably just want to check. But for you all who will be attempting next year, what is important to understand is आपको preparation कैसे करना है, ठीक है. अब river pollution एक topic पढ़ा है, तो you just don't have to read कि हाँ water pollution क्या होता है, air pollution क्या होता है. Just for everything have the government initiatives, the main measures associated with it, examples, all these things ready beforehand. कि अगर river पे कोई question आया या river pollution पे आया, these are the 2-3 examples that I am definitely going to put. The preparation has to be done accordingly. Okay, now look here. Examples, one of the most polluted rivers in India is considered to be the Hindon River. Okay, Hindon River है. The Kuam River, which is located in Tamil Nadu. Sabarmati, खैर अब तो साबरमती काफ़ी improve हो गई है, but still, okay. Then of Godavari, Ghaggar, Gomti, these are all tributaries of Ganga. So these are all case studies of extremely polluted rivers in India. Ghaggar is one river which gets a lot of industrial discharge from Himachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh में Baddi and all these regions, they have a lot of industrial area because the incentive is given by the government to establish industries there. तो उनका बहुत ज़्यादा effluent discharge होता है उसमें. And then coming down to Punjab, Haryana, these states have a lot of normal residential household, this kind of discharge. Okay, so the point being that for every topic have commensurate examples ready. अगर air pollution का तुम्हारा topic, if you're preparing, please commensurate air pollution के examples, cities, AQI थोड़ा सा related, have those examples ready which you can use in the examiner. Okay, examination. All right. And finally, how would you conclude this answer? Conclusion में you can always talk about, you can say that, we need to have a generic that rivers are, in India, rivers are worshipped since ancient times. So we should probably protect. You can have a sentimental conclusion also. If you want to have a more impactful conclusion, I would recommend that this case, MC Mehta versus Union of India, which is known as the Ganga pollution case, you could have closed with this also. This is a very good point. Then you can talk about River Cities Alliance. You can talk about River Cities Alliance, right? You can talk about Sustainable Development Goals. If nothing works, then SDGs always work. Okay, clear? These are the different points that could have come in this answer. The key takeaway being from this lecture for you all is not concept. Concept to mein river pollution ka pata hi hai. There is nothing conceptual here. The point being how you have to prepare. Okay? Similar questions which UPSC has asked in previous years related to this topic. Last year, UPSC asked a question on oil pollution. What is its impact? Okay, and how is it harmful for a country like India? Last year impact पूछा, इस साल mitigation measures पूछ लिए, government initiative. Any pollution related topic, the main pointers will be causes, measures, government initiatives, and some examples or case studies, because UPSC has started asking examples explicitly. वो भी we will see in the coming questions. Clear? Okay. Now see this, another question which was asked in 2013, National Water Policy of India, and taking Ganga as an example, discuss the strategies which may be adopted for river water pollution control and management. Straight वही question है, ठीक है. अगर river water आपने गंगा का prepare किया है pollution control, you can easily replicate that answer to the question which UPSC has asked this year, because that was a more generic question. Clear? Understood? Okay. Now coming to one topper's answer copy. This is, can you recognize the handwriting? कभी देखे हैं टॉपर्स की आंसर किसी के? चलो अब देख लेते हैं. ओके, दिस इज द आंसर कॉपी ऑफ रैंक 2 अनिमेश. ओके, अनिमेश का है ये. द क्वेश्चन इज रिलेटेड टू इंडियाज वाटर नीड्स एंड इश्यूज ऑफ वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी एंड वाटर क्वालिटी. Okay, availability and quality. So somewhere around that only. Now if you see, this is also a 10 marker question. So how has Animesh answered it? He is given straight 18% of the world population and 4% of the water resources. India continues to be in a tightrope. Okay, you can talk, you can introduce like this also. ये तो general statistics हैं, तो तुम्हें पता ही है कि we have 18% of the population. Okay, you similarly rivers के case में you could have introduced that rivers as a fresh water resource is very scarce across the world, 0.3%, and India में तो और भी ज़्यादा important हो गया. ठीक है, so this is how you can introduce. Then what he does is initiatives taken for water needs. What are the different initiatives? Look at his answer. Very broadly he has written PM Jal Jeevan Yojana. जल जीवन योजना में ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट ड्रिंकिंग वाटर. देन एग्रीकल्चर में वॉट एवर स्कीम्स, माइक्रो इरीगेशन, पीएम किसान सिंचाई योजना, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. देन पॉलिसीज लाइक नेशनल वाटर पॉलिसी. देन ही टॉक्स अबाउट अंडरग्राउंड वाटर. देन रिवर वाटर, नमामि गंगे, ओके, अमृत सरोवर मिशन, ही टॉक्स अबाउट दिस. देन क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन, अगेन रिलेटेड टू वाटर, is millet mission. So you see how 10 marker he has incorporated all the broader aspects which could be related to water in a simple infographic. That is why when we saw the mitigation measures, 4-5 main mitigation measures हैं which are important. Rest is all good to have. All right. Now, what are the issues related to water availability and water quality? If you see his answer, he has clearly separated the two. One, he talks about water availability, and second, he talks about water quality. So those of you who have attempted this year's paper, it is important that you highlight mitigation measures and government initiatives separately. All right. Now, in water availability, again, there's a lot of data that he talks about. For example, per capita water availability कितना कम हुआ है, ground water depletion कितना हुआ है, urban areas में acute water shortage है. Then talks about water quality. Then he talks about the Central Groundwater Board census. He talks about 50% of the nitrate emissions. Then groundwater uranium contamination, high salinity. Less than 30% of the sewage water is treated before dumping. Okay, so these are all important points that he has mentioned. Now this is how a topper's answer copy looks like vis-a-vis how a normal candidate's answer copy would look like. Normal candidate would have just generic points, but to differentiate you from the other people, the data points actually make it stand out. Okay, and way forward mein, then he talks about rainwater harvesting, subsidy rationalization, recycling of water, etc. And finally he ends it with talking about sustainable development goals. Now, is the picture a little clearer how you have to attempt these kind of questions in environment? See, one thing is concept. Concept का सबको clarity है. Pollution जैसे topic में कोई concept नहीं होगा. Nobody is going to tell you how pollution happens and why and all. These are basic things you already know. But to make your answer stand out, what will matter is how you present your answer and how you manage your time. Because time management is a bigger issue in this exam than actually content sometimes. Okay, कई बारी content पूरा होता है but you are unable to manage the time. Clear? Is this understood to everybody? Okay. Now my request to all of you is, once this class is over, इसी river pollution वाला, you already know the important points इसमें क्या है. write the answer to that question. Okay, that 10 marker question, take 2 blank pages and write the answer in a similar format like how he did. Okay, and then try to understand where are the gaps that you are feeling in your preparation. कि अच्छा मुझे ये वाला exactly नहीं पता कि कितना वेस्ट वाटर जनरेट होता है इंडस्ट्रीज में या क्या है. दिस सम यू विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर द गैप्स इन योर प्रिपरेशन एंड देन यू हैव टू प्लग दोज गैप्स, विच इज व्हाई आंसर राइटिंग इज कंसिडर्ड इंपॉर्टेंट. ऑलराइट, क्लियर? Okay, next. What role do environment NGOs and activists play in influencing environmental impact assessment outcomes for major projects in India? Cite 4 examples with all important details. अब यूपीएससी डायरेक्टली खुद ही पूछ रहा है कि 4 एग्जाम्पल्स दो और सारी उसकी डिटेल्स बताओ. अगेन दिस इज अ 10 marker. So what do you know about environment impact assessment? Do you know of any examples? Anything? हाँ, okay, but उसका of any NGOs which are working in that. Great Nicobar project is okay. What name of the NGOs which are protesting that? Now this is how preparation has to be done. ठीक है, अगर EIA पढ़ना है, environment impact assessment का main point is public consultation. The gist of EIA is not just कि हम scientifically उसको study कर रहे हैं, but also consultation of people, stakeholders who are a part of this project or who will be impacted and affected because of this project. Clear? Okay. So why was this question asked? What could be the motivation behind this question? सबसे कुछ तो इम्पॉर्टेंट न्यूज़ यही थी कि गवर्नमेंट एडमिट्स बिकॉज इट हैज़ बाईपास्ड इन्वायरमेंट इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट इन चारधाम प्रोजेक्ट. अब चारधाम तो इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है, हाउ कुड दे बाईपास द EIA? They bypassed it because EIA is basically for major or large projects, and under EIA rules there is one rule which says that अगर 100 kilometers से कम का stretch है तो उसके लिए you do not require EIA. So the problem is this project was executed in 53 parts, each less than 100 kilometers. तो वो एक अच्छा आइडिया है उसको बाईपास करने का, राइट? तो बाईपास तो कर दिया 53 parts, but of course people are now facing the brunt, right? So this was in news. Okay, this primarily happened after that Uttarakhand tunnel collapse. Everybody knows about it, how workers were rescued. Apart from that, EIA is always in news. EIA के लिए कोई motivation का actually ज़रूरत नहीं है. It is a clearly written topic in your syllabus, है ना? So you have गोवा में mining के लिए clearance मिला है because recently गोवा में State Environment Impact Authority, Assessment Authority has been established recently. So now it has started giving green signal for mining in Goa. Okay, apart from that, Supreme Court has made certain statements. There has been certain statements from Madras High Court. Okay, and there is one article which I believe is probably not the motivation because the date of this article is 24th September, but this is an Indian Express article and you should definitely read this. Note this down. This is environment impact assessment, navigating the development environment dilemma. This is from Indian Express. Okay, Indian Express का article है. It's a very good article. Explains everything about EIA. What are the different category? Category A, category B. उसके अंदर 2 categories. So everything is explained कि किस type के projects require EIA in India and everything. Okay, so this article is something that you should definitely go through. Clear? Okay. So, coming back to the question, what was the question all about? क्या पूछा है? What is the demand of the question? The role of activists and NGOs. Okay, please don't forget that the word activist has also been included by UPSC in the question. Environment, NGOs and activists. So you can talk about individual activists. Can you name some individual activists? Medha, okay, और सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा, ठीक है? हाँ, ठीक है. So you know, ठीक है, but the point being they should be linked to something called EIA. ठीक है? अब सुंदरलाल भावोगे ना तो बहुत पुराना हो गया, ठीक है, तब तो EIA था भी नहीं इंडिया में. सो दैट वे यू हैव टू बी अ लिटिल स्मार्ट इन योर चॉइस. ओके, सो कमिंग बैक, introduction, how would you introduce? Ideally this question introduction should be somewhere about what is EIA ना, एक line का एक simple सा what do you think would be EIA. You don't need to know the definition. What do you think is EIA according to you? Correct. Okay. Or sorry, हाँ, carrying capacity, good, very good. Long term sustainability, very good. Or anyone else? Very good. Scrutiny of the government projects. So somewhere around this only you can frame a definition. ठीक है. More technically it would be to predict the effect of a proposed activity or project on the environment. Very simple. ठीक है. Or you can say that used to evaluate the environmental effect, both positive and negative, before a project is approved. Simpler definition. Or you can say it fosters popular participation or people's participation in the process of granting clearances. Okay, very simply we could have introduced it like this. Now, what is the role of NGOs and activists? Forget this, तुम बताओ क्या होगा? What is the role of NGO? What? वैसे तो ये बताओ कि EIA के process में public consultation कहाँ होती है, कैसे होती है? Yes. Okay. 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 And which body do they usually go to? Which people ऐसे क्या newspaper में छाप देते हैं कि हम आपके घर में ये करने वाले हैं, एरिया में प्रोजेक्ट बताओ? What is which body do they usually go to? Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha, right? Gram Sabha. What is Gram Sabha? What is the official definition of Gram Sabha? Who are it? Yes, and eligible voters. Okay. So that is, they constitute Gram Sabha. So public consultations are held that we are planning to do, or this project is, you know, being thought after and whatever. So what could be the possible outcomes? Yeah, do you think you want this or you don't want this? So people can freely ask questions also. That is a process of EIA public consultation. Okay. Now, तो अगर ऐसे process में हम खुद सोचो, if only people and the person, the party, or let's say the administration is involved, so you think people will be able to understand this process? Will they be able to tell कि ये ठीक है या नहीं है? No. In 80 to 90% of the cases, they do need some other organization like an NGO or an activist, which tells them, देखो ये इसके actual pros हैं, ये तुम्हारे साथ कौन से. Of course, it can be misleading also sometimes, but they do need somebody more on their side, because what happens is most of such cases actually eventually go into litigation. ठीक है, कोर्ट में चले जाते हैं. So to protest that, they need some sort of formal channels. ठीक है, some sort of formal, suppose FIR भी करनी है, who will stand up in the village? Somebody has to go through that formal channel. So they need that little bit of hand holding. So NGOs, 80 to 90% of the EIA cases जो courts में होते हैं, some or the other NGOs or activists are involved in helping them. Okay, clear? So what is the role they perform now? अब बताओ. Mediate. Okay, very good. To check whether there is any bypassing of law. Very good. Very good, very good. Yes, they represent the larger population's concern, okay, to the authorities. Awareness generation, good. Yes, or anything else? Seek fair compensation for the people. ठीक है, in case तो नर्मदा आंदोलन में basically यही हुआ था. All right, चलो, let's see what are the points. Main thing is this only. First is they prolong the battle against misrepresentation of facts. So ऐसा नहीं है कि जल्दी से EIA haste में किया और एक consultation की public के साथ और बोला हाँ जी public ने approve कर दिया. No. they allow that process to be actually scrutinized. Okay, then they raise awareness, you've already talked about it. They ensure that the key principles, that is protection of environment, is always in the focus. Okay, then public consultation, you've already talked about it. Providing scientific data, sometimes people don't know whether this information is true or not, so they provide scientific data to the people. Then litigation and legal challenges, monitoring and compliance, and sometimes NGO also play a constructive role by giving policy recommendations that maybe we should not implement this project like this, maybe some other alternative. Okay, so this is simple role of NGOs and activists, what they do. Now coming to examples, it's a 10 marker question, तो ये अगर आप इसमें 4-5 पॉइंट भी लिखते हो, that is good. Now, what are the examples? This is the gist of the question. Some of the examples you've already named. You talked about Narmada Bachao Andolan, clear? Then there are many other, for example, Vedanta's bauxite mining case, Nyamgiri Hills mein, theek hai? You can talk about this Hyderabad-Vikarabad highway expansion. Activists under the Savay Bhavana group, they also protested. Then you can talk about Nirma Limited's cement plant in Gujarat. So these are all case studies which you probably could have or would have encountered in the newspapers. अब ये ऐसी चीज़ है जो prepare करनी पड़ेगी beforehand. This is something that will probably not taught to you in classes because this is a part of your regular newspaper discourse. Okay, so some case studies, क्योंकि ये आती जाती चीज़ें हैं. Apart from this, examples of individual environmental activists in India is something that people will miss in this answer, because most of the people will talk about things like Narmada Bachao Andolan because that's the most popular one. Okay, individual activists but related to EIA. Okay, so for example, Rajendra Singh, he's also known as the Waterman of India. He fought something known as the Sariska case, which was against illegal mining in Alwar. Okay, illegal mining का एक और example is Kinkari Devi. She in fact sat outside. She's an illiterate woman. Okay, just बहुत time तक she did not even know how to do signatures. But what she did was she sat outside the court, Himachal court. She for like I think she was fasting unto death or something like that for 17 days. Okay, and finally because of her, the court took cognizance of the matter. Okay, so this is Kinkari Devi. Another example is Sumaira, okay, Abdul Ali. She was again, she lives in Alibag, I think, and outside her house she saw a lot of sand mining in the riverbeds. Okay, and she raised that issue. She was the first person to file a PIL in the Supreme Court against sand mining in India in 2006. So these are examples of people who have, Medha Patkar, you guys have already mentioned. Okay? This Marimuthu Yogananda, this is a tree man of India. Okay, again forest man of India, Jaidev Paing. There is a movie also after his name. I think Forest Man of India hi hai shayad movie ka naam, if I'm not wrong. So he also planted trees in the Majuli Island and created a forest reserve of his own. But okay, these are the examples which you can mention about individual activists in the answer. See, this is what a good answer is, right? Where you are answering the question. The question is asking you 4 examples with the case details. Ab relevant details में आपको हर उसकी history नहीं बतानी है. Maybe just if you can tell what the case was related to and who was the main person or NGO involved in that. Okay, it's a 10 marker question. Clear? So these are some examples. You can note them down also. These are the main individual environmentalists of India. Okay. Apart from this, there are certain Supreme Court cases also, jahan pe government, Supreme Court has made certain observations related to EIA. This is also important content for future. Just note this down. For example, the Center of Environmental Law versus Union of India case, Supreme Court repeated the importance of following EIA procedures in development projects. Okay. Then if you see this, Adivasi Mazdoor Kisan Ekta Sangathan, again Supreme Court, the persons who voiced their opposition to the project was not recorded and no summary of the public hearing was prepared. During the EIA consultation, it is mandatory to record all the opposition and the entire जो भी meeting में हुआ है उसकी summary in a written format. If that was not done, the Supreme Court in this particular case उन्होंने वो पूरा quash ही कर दिया because this step was not followed. Okay, these are landmark cases related to EIA, which if become a part of your answer, will tell the examiner that yes, you know the exact specifics of EIA consultations. Okay, then again similarly in Samata and Forum of Sustainable Development versus Union of India, the views, opinions, comments and suggestions made by the each committee should be recorded in a structured format is what the Supreme Court said. They should be recorded in a structure. So these are cases of NGOs versus government versus authorities where properly EIA has not been followed and NGOs have helped in quashing such projects. Okay, you can get access to this PPT, you can note this down later, but these are all examples of how EIA is important in India. Okay. In addition to that, if you have to talk about strengthening EIA, that what does it do? You can say it strengthens public participation. Okay, it builds the capacity of the people to oppose a project, improving access to information. It reinforces penalties and independent EIA audits are also important. Clear? 10 मार्कर है, जितना मैंने कंटेंट दिया है वो 15-20 मार्कर का भी हो सकता है, but point being, if anyone who has attempted this year's paper and if your answer is on this line, it's perfectly fine. Clear? Okay. Conclusion. How will you conclude anything related to EIA? You can have a generic conclusion like EIA is important, it strikes up a balance between India's economic development and ecological goals. Okay, so आप एक generic वो भी दे सकते हो, or you can say that under the Goda Varman case. How many of you know about this case? Goda Varman, पता है? Okay, Goda Varman case, the apex court, that is Supreme Court, recognized the right to a clean environment by stressing the importance of EIA. Okay, this is again a good conclusion. You can talk about EIA process in India, how it has certain challenges, yet it is important, yet it is required. एक थोड़ा सा way forward वैसे भी दे सकते हैं. Okay, and EIA process का purpose क्या है? To bring out the information in public domain so that people understand that what are the repercussions of a certain project. Okay. That activity is also done by certain portals such as the Envis portal and the Parivesh portal of Government of India. So you can talk about this, that how these two portals also play a complementary role to EIA in India. Clear? So we can conclude your answer by using these points. Understood? Okay. Now, similar UPSC previous year's questions, EIA से क्या आए हैं? Let's see. In 2014, UPSC asked, environmental impact assessment studies are increasingly undertaken before a project is cleared. Discuss the environmental impacts of coal-fired thermal plants located at coal pit heads. This is a more specific or technical question, but at least it gives you a hint into how EIA is being considered by UPSC as an important topic. Okay. How does the draft EIA notification 2020 differ from the existing EIA notification 2006? Clear question. To 2020 में एक draft notification आया था EIA का, under which again certain provisions were diluted. वो जो 100 वाला अभी हमने देखा है ना, 100 वाला वो उसी में ही हुआ था. Okay, so those dilutions or rather some exemptions were given under Environment Impact Assessment Act. Okay, this particular act. So this notification. So therefore, this question was asked in 2020 itself when this draft notification had come. And mind you, sometimes people say कि draft पे question नहीं आएगा, अभी final तो हुआ नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. ठीक है, so don't fall in that trap कि draft पे नहीं आएगा. Clear? Alright? Okay.
Completing the syllabus without proper knowledge of current affairs will not take you far in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Regulate and transform your preparation with complete coverage of news of relevance. Get a concrete hold of current affairs for UPSC CSE with Vision IS Monthly Current Affairs Revision Program starting from 20th September at 5 p.m. The program is your guide to get comprehensive news on one platform sourced through relevant resources such as The Hindu, Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB, Yojana and others. Enroll for complete coverage of current affairs including Indian polity and constitution, economy, international relations and more. Comprehensive assessment of preparation through MCQs and mains-oriented questions. Expert support through personalized mentoring and online doubt resolution.
So with that, we just had 2 questions in environment, 10 marker each. Those are the points that you could have or should have written, all right? And diagrams and all, naturally flowchart aapne dekha hai how Animesh has drawn, so you can draw accordingly. Clear? Okay, next is disaster management. Now disaster management, this year disaster was a topic which was highly anticipated, and it was also something that was pretty much on the expected lines. Urban flooding and crowd management or stampedes. These were 2 topics which were highly anticipated in the paper. It was expected कि ये predicted था कि ये आएगा. We have a question on urban flooding, but we still don't have a question on stampedes or crowd management. Stampedes or crowd management continues to be a very important topic for the coming years also, because एक तो वो हमेशा न्यूज़ में रहता ही है. अभी हाथरस वाला इंसिडेंट भी हुआ था, clear? So it will always be in news, and that is something that as future administrators of the country, you will be dealing on head on with this. Okay, so it is important for future examination point of view also. Okay, apart from individual hazards or disasters, so you have natural hazards and disasters like cyclones, earthquake, tsunami, जो भी आपके natural जो आप geography में पढ़ते हो, those are there. Apart from natural and anthropogenic, you have to understand the basics or the basic underlying theory of disaster in India. Okay, disaster management in India. पहला है तो आपको ये समझना है कि disaster cycle क्या होता है. What is pre and post disaster phase? Okay, then you have something called response, disaster preparedness, response, recovery, etc. Okay. Now, as a part of disaster preparedness, there is something called disaster resilience. What is resilient? I mean, just in plain English, if I ask you that, let's say X person is more resilient than Y, what would you understand? Ability to overcome challenges. He'll remain unaffected. Okay. Yes, ability to face adversity with minimum damage. Unaffected थोड़ा unrealistic है. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि you will be totally unaffected by anything. Okay. The main thing is how better can you come back. Okay, and how faster can you recover. That is your resilience. So same चीज disaster resilience में. Even if you don't know the concept of disaster resilience as such, you can still attempt this question by answering what is the key points in disaster preparedness. You can talk about those key points. You can talk about capacity building. You can talk about awareness. You can talk about early warning systems. You can talk about things that make something more resilient. Okay, and resilience में सिर्फ preparedness नहीं, also in the eventuality of such a disaster, how quickly can you restore systems back to their normalcy? कितना जल्दी? It's not just about human lives. It's also about critical infrastructure. कितनी जल्दी आपकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वापस आ रही है, रिस्टोर हो रही है, कितनी जल्दी आपका इंटरनेट वापस रिस्टोर हो रहा है. Those are also a part of resilience. Okay, so when we talk about resilience as such, disaster resilience, you can simply write it as it is our ability to prevent, withstand and recover from the harmful impact. Of course, prevention is something which is लेस इन द केस ऑफ नेचुरल, आप साइक्लोन प्रिवेंट नहीं कर सकते, आप अर्थक्वेक प्रिवेंट नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन आप स्टैम्पीड प्रिवेंट कर सकते हो, ठीक है. सो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. नाउ डेफिनेशन ऑफ डिजास्टर रेजिलियंस, देखो डिपार्टमेंट है यूके का ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट, दे हैव डिफाइंड इट इन अ सर्टन वे. Hyogo framework of action है that has defined disaster resilience in a certain way. That is, it is the capacity of a system, community or a society exposed to hazards to adapt by resisting or changing in order to reach and maintain an acceptable level of functioning and structure. But no examiner expects you to write this verbatim. You cannot. So आप अपनी simple language में what all you just told me just now, you can rephrase that and write it in a simple manner. Okay. And disaster resilience therefore is not just an outcome that you become disaster resilient, it is also a process that you follow to become resilient. Okay. Resilience is also a process. So what are the key determining factors? अब इसमें हम थोड़ा सा next step में technical जाएंगे, which I am quite confident most of the people have not written in the examination. Because it's a थोड़ा सा different question है, थोड़ा सा specific question है, which could not have been answered unless you actually read that material. Okay. So this we have already talked about, preparedness, response, recovery, and how quickly you adapt to it. So the main elements, if you look at the resilience framework, UPSC has specifically asked you that what are the elements. The elements of a disaster resilient framework are, elements मतलब उसके main component क्या है, ठीक है. Now अब अगर मैं बोलूँ कि मुझे किसी एक particular, let's say this classroom, I want to enhance the resilience of this classroom to any hazard, let's say stampede. So what are the elements that I will take care of? Number one, I have a specific group in mind that I want to protect. What is that group? It is this current students in the classroom. ठीक है. तो number one मेरा element क्या हो गया? That is the context. That is the people or the classroom itself. ठीक है. The institution that I want to protect. What is it that I'm trying to protect? That is the context, which could be a social group. In this case, it will be this classroom. In other circumstances, it could be, let's say, women and children. Okay, it could be disabled, it could be elderly, it could be backward classes. कुछ भी हो सकता है. ये हर disaster के केस में अलग अलग हो सकता है. Okay, so that particular social group or that particular institution that I'm trying to protect, that is the context which I'm trying to take care of. So resilience of what? I want to build the resilience of what is the first element. Okay. Second element is resilience to what? To what? Am I going to build the resilience of this class to a volcano? No, because there is no hazard, right, of volcano lurking around, thankfully. ठीक है, so वो नहीं है. So what is it that I am building the class resilience to? Earthquakes, fire, ठीक है, stampedes or crowd management. So basically, yeah, flooding, very important. ठीक है, so I am trying to build the resilience against something, right? That means resilience to what? So resilience to what is also of two types. One is shock, the other is stress. Shock means एकदम झटके से कुछ आ गया, earthquake आ गया, एकदम sudden. Stress means long term mental harassment, बहुत दिनों से हो रही है, ठीक है, everybody is stressed. And in normal proper economy terms, it could be, let's say, something like a drought. It could be poverty. Poverty is also a stress. Okay, so these are what do I want to build the resilience against. So example will be natural hazard, food shortage, high fuel prices. Okay, those are parts of stresses, and we have shocks. So these are the two elements. Main elements. हम किसको बचाना चाह रहे हैं और किस से बचाना चाह रहे हैं. Third element is capacity to deal with disturbance. Okay, how much can you take disturbance? What is your exposure? If we are, what is our exposure more to earthquakes or volcanoes? Earthquakes. Okay, so we are more exposed to earthquakes sitting here. Similarly, sensitivity. अगर ये क्लास खचाखच भरी होती, full like towards till the back of the end row, so we would have greater sensitivity, right, to crowd stampedes. Okay, so हमारी sensitivity कितनी ज़्यादा है? Is there enough space for us to move around? That is sensitivity. And adaptive capacity, that if in case of a disaster or hazard which is struck, how well can we adapt? Clear? And finally, the fourth element is कि जब disaster हो जाता है, okay, how well are you coming back? You have 4 options. One is you bounce back better. यानी कि जो conditions pre-hazard या disaster थी, आप उनसे better बन गए हो. So मान लो कि the lighting on the street was pretty bad before a disaster struck. After that, new good LED or CF lightings has been installed, or solar panels or solar lighting has been installed. So you have built back better after a disaster. Okay. Second option is you bounce back. You basically restore to what was there. So you come back to the original thing that was pre-disaster. Third is you recover but worse than before. You recover, but you are not better than before. It's at a slightly substandard level. And fourth is collapse. आप recover ही नहीं किए. Okay. So these are the 4 elements of a resilience framework: context, disturbance, capacity to deal with disturbance, and reaction to disturbance. Now this is something which is very specific, which most of the people may not have been able to answer in the question, but that's still okay as long as you're even able to answer with some of these points, because these points are also a part of disaster resilience. Clear? Okay, I've already explained what each one of these is. All right, and next part of the question, it's a 15 marker. So next part of the question talks about Sendai framework. Sendai framework is something that everybody studies, everybody reads about it, and you should have answered this. It should have definitely been there in your answer copy. Okay, Sendai framework को याद करना है. It's very simple. पूरा देखने का जरूरत नहीं है. It has 7 targets. Okay, it has 7 targets. 4 चीजें कम करनी है और 3 चीजें बढ़ानी है. क्या कम करना है? सबसे पहले you have to reduce the mortality, यानी कि deaths occurring because of a disaster. Okay, reduce mortality. Second is reduce the number of affected people. Reduce the number of affected people. Okay. Third is economic loss. Reduce economic loss. Okay. And fourth is damage to critical infrastructure. These 4 things have to be reduced according to the Sendai framework, okay, for disaster risk reduction 2015 to 2030. Clear? अब बढ़ाना क्या है? ये तो कम करना है. बढ़ाना क्या है? Increase the number of countries with national or local disaster risk strategies. Disaster strategies, risk reduction strategies. Okay. That means हर कंट्री का कोई या तो लॉ हो, या कोई लेजिस्लेशन हो, या कोई फ्रेमवर्क हो, कोई पॉलिसी हो, समथिंग. एवरी कंट्री शुड हैव इट्स at its national and local level, it should have a policy or a law which helps in reducing the risk that disaster poses. Okay. In the case of India, we have the Disaster Management Act 2005. Clear? And we have authorities, we have NDMA at the national level, SDMA and DDMA. ठीक है? So ये हमें बढ़ाना है number of countries which have this particular law. Then enhance international cooperation to developing countries. Enhance or increase international cooperation to developing countries. Okay? And the third thing, you want to increase access to multi-hazard early warning systems. Increase access to early warning systems. Do you know 2006 में जो tsunami आई थी? 4. हाँ. So what 2004 tsunami? Do you know India? We suffered a lot of loss and damage on account of it. the tsunami was triggered by an earthquake almost 4 to 5 hours before the waves actually hit the Indian coast. 4 से 5 घंटे पहले सुनामी हो चुकी थी स्टार्ट, बट 4 से 5 घंटे तक भी we did not have any early warning system in India. We had no way of knowing that a tsunami is coming. 4 से 5 घंटे is a very long time if you think of it. Okay, and that's because there was absolutely no tsunami early warning system in the Indian Ocean those days. एक दो थे, but they were in the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. There was no tsunami. जबकि in fact, if you look at it, it lies in the circum-Pacific belt, right? Ring of fire. So there was no way of knowing. And now today, India's tsunami early warning system जो है, it caters to the entire Indian Ocean region. Okay, so we are the leaders in providing early warning systems or early warnings to small countries and other countries in the Indian Ocean region. Okay, so it is important that, look, it's not feasible for every small country to have a tsunami warning system. Maldives hai, Mauritius hai, these kind of small countries do not have the kind of capacity to set up early warning tsunami systems across the Indian Ocean. They don't have the resources. So we need countries to come together and develop or increase access to this kind of multi-hazard early warning systems. Is this clear? Understood? 4 things you have to reduce and 3 things you have to increase. This is your Sendai framework. Clear? Okay. बस यही पूछा था UPSC ने, and you can conclude it by talking about disasters in general, disaster resilience in general. You can talk about Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. This is very important. India is one of the founding members of this coalition. So this was a point that should have definitely come in this answer. Okay. And of course, then you can talk about G20 Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group and the recent events related to disaster management. Okay? So that could have been concluded. And finally, coming to the last question, which is again a 15-marker question on urban flooding, which was extremely anticipated. Pata hi tha ki almost it was there. Okay? Now, what is different in this is that flooding in urban areas is an emerging climate-induced disaster. UPSC itself is telling you that urban flooding is on account of climate change. Okay? Then discuss the causes. Of course, you can talk about the causes. But this is the key. Mention the features of 2 such major floods in the last 2 decades in India. Last 2 decades, मतलब last 20 years में, there have been ample instances of urban flooding. Chennai है, Mumbai है. अभी recently इस month में कहाँ हुआ? Bangalore और Wayanad. Wayanad is landslides, yeah. और Vijayawada, right? Andhra Pradesh. So you can talk about that and describe the policies and framework in India that aim at tackling such floods. So first things first, what makes urban flooding different from normal flooding? So how is it different from normal? Correct. Or reclamation of lands, okay. But how is the symptom? You're telling me the causes. I'm asking about the symptom. Sudden, yeah, the factor of suddenness. The main issue with urban flooding is that the peak flow, okay, और जो एकदम से अगर थोड़ी भी बारिश होगी, वो एक साथ पानी एक जगह इकट्ठा हो जाएगा. So the peak flow suddenly rises in the case of urban flooding vis-a-vis normal flooding. रूरल एरियाज में और इन अदर एरियाज वो थोड़ा पानी गिरेगा, वो मे बी सीप डाउन हो जाएगा या कहीं ड्रेन ऑफ हो जाएगा. बट इन अर्बन एरियाज इट गेट्स कलेक्टेड एट वन प्लेस बिकॉज ऑफ whatever reasons, concretization, poor drainage channels and all that. ठीक है? So the peak flow is higher in case of urban flooding. Okay? Now, these are multiple examples of cities. Another one more important factor that you should talk about urban flooding India में ज़्यादा क्यों होता है? 80% of the precipitation that we receive in our country is during the monsoons only. वो 3-4 महीने का पीरियड है जिसमें जितनी भी साल में बारिश होती है वो इन 3-4 महीनों में ही होती है. So that is also one reason why suddenly we see a rise in precipitation. ठीक है, तो that is one point. These are multiple examples. You can talk about any of these. You can talk about them and their factors. Okay. Urban flooding, if you had to define, is the inundation of land or property in a built environment, particularly in more densely populated areas. This is a simple definition. Okay. Encroachment on drainage channel, climate change, right? Dubai floods. Dubai floods is a key example of climate change. People think it is an example of cloud seeding gone wrong. That's not the case. Climate change is also one of the reasons why Dubai experienced flooding. All right. Then uninformed release of water from dams. This happens a lot. Okay. Sudden release of water. Just say Hathnikund barrage here, right? Okay. Next is illegal mining. Illegal mining, what does it do? Sand mining. It changes the courses of river. All right. So that also can cause, for example, Yamuna, right? That can also cause urban flooding. So Yamuna mein jab baad aati hai, it reaches up till Red Fort also. Clear? So that can also be a reason for urban flood. So urban flood peaks is 2 to 8 times, and the flood volumes increase by up to 6 times compared to normal flooding. All right. You can give examples. Causes of urban flooding, बहुत सारे हैं. You can divide it into 3 parts: meteorological, anthropological, and hydrological. Meteorological means southwest monsoons. It's concentrated in 3 to 4 months. Okay, you can talk about cyclones, cloudbursts. Delhi abhi recently experienced that. Okay, anthropological factors, that means human-induced factors would be land use changes, right? We are not following the flood zoning patterns. Then over concretization, urban heat island effect. This is something people usually miss. This is also a reason for heavy rainfall at a particular place. All right. Then unplanned growth, encroachment of natural water bodies, what you just mentioned. All right. Poor drainage system, all those come under human factors or anthropological reasons. And hydrological reasons, poor surface infiltration rate, okay, absence of backflow channels. So these are all other reasons why urban flooding is caused. So if you have, you don't necessarily have to divide it into 3 parts. Even if you have written some of the points, like about 5-6 points out of this, you're good to go. All right, these are the causes of urban flooding. Now, what is the government action on urban flood? What is the steps that the government has taken? सबसे पहले, whenever you are asked about any government action or measures related to disaster, always talk about the apex institutions first. Okay, you talk about the Disaster Management Act, under which you talk about National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) and NDMA ki guidelines on that specific disaster. So NDMA has released its guidelines on urban flooding. Okay, so that you can mention. Apart from that, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has issued standard operating procedures for urban flooding in 2017. There are building bylaws which talk about proper building codes that have to be followed. Okay, there is a, these are other plans. से ये जो थोड़े से ये वाले हैं ना, artificial recharge to groundwater, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Amrit Sarovar. This is primarily to increase the catchment of water. So for example, Amrit Sarovar mission is related to water bodies. ठीक है, तो water bodies का conservation, which in turn means that you are creating space for the water to flow. All right. Similarly, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is talking about groundwater recharge, that also in a way is helping in urban flooding. Okay, so you can talk about that also. Then you can talk about master plan for artificial recharge to groundwater. जो भी आपको water related या groundwater related है, you can mention that as a part of government initiatives. All right. Which government is primarily responsible for handling urban flooding or any disaster for that matter? State government. It is the state government which has the primary responsibility. Na center, na district. Okay, it is a state government. All right. Apart from that, what are the policies and framework in India that you can have for tackling urban flooding, nature based solutions. Okay, nature based solutions where you are trying to just say for example creating more green and blue spaces. What are green and blue spaces? Green means you are creating patches of forests or vegetation so that the excess water from rainfall is absorbed. Same thing for blue, you are restoring the wetlands. Bangalore was known as the city of lakes, right? It had so many lakes, but now because of land reclamation or again so much dumping of soil and sand, and then you reclaim that land and then they construct housing societies on it, that has been happening across India. So for those, again, you retain the water bodies in their natural format so that there is space for the water to flow. Urban flooding is not excess water coming, it is water not being able to go out. All right, so those can be mentioned. There is something called the Sponge Cities Mission. It is still not there in India, but this is a concept which came in China in about early 2000s. China came up with this concept of Sponge Cities Mission, in which it says that cities should behave like sponge. अगर पानी की एक बूंद भी आ रही है, even if there is one drop of water, it should be absorbed or it should be used and it should be collected and something should be done with it. Okay, so that is the concept of Sponge Cities Mission. So we need that concept in India. Okay, and apart from that, of course, we have the Amrut, which is the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, where already we are talking about water harvesting and water utilization. Okay, the cities of India, I've told you about this, I've told you about NDMA guidelines. The cities of India need to become more water sensitive. There is a concept called water sensitive urban design and planning. Water sensitive urban design and planning, which means आप रेन वाटर को यूज़ कर रहे हो, वेस्ट वाटर को रीयूज़ कर रहे हो, स्टॉर्म वाटर को कलेक्ट कर रहे हो एंड देन यू आर यूजिंग इट. ओके, सो बेसिकली जो स्पॉन्ज सिटीज़ मिशन है, दैट सेम कॉन्सेप्ट, दैट मीन्स द अर्बन landscape of India should be more and more water sensitive. Okay, now for this particular initiatives what we have taken, हमारे already क्या initiatives हैं to make the urban landscape more water sensitive? We have the National Mission for Clean Ganga. Under this we are trying to make the cities which are on the Ganga river basin, we are trying to make them already water sensitive. Okay, Jal Shakti Ministry's initiative Catch the Rain, which is again for rainwater harvesting. River Cities Alliance. What is River Cities Alliance? One river city of India and one river city of some international other city on another river bank. Okay, how they will exchange ideas and suggestions for improving that particular ecosystem of that river. Okay, then various national flagship urban missions. You can talk about any urban missions, water हमेशा एक part रहेगा. So even if you mention that, it's not wrong. All right, and traditional water conservation systems, those can be incorporated. So what are the challenges that we can face? अगर हमें हर city को water sensitive बनाना है, what could be the challenges? What are the challenges? हम क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे? Why our cities are not being able to become water sensitive? Huge investment is required. ठीक है, rainwater harvesting is not easy. Okay, और sorry, water is a state subject. Okay, और rehabilitation of people. Okay, और overpopulation, congested areas है ना, it's not easy to implement. और financial crunch. ठीक है, so all these points you can include. Overpopulation, there is complex hierarchy, there is development around complex development around metropolitan areas. You can talk about poor understanding of planning and water values. People don't have water values, waste इतना करते हैं. Okay, poor mechanism for conflict resolution. In case there is a conflict, two states में वो इतना पंगा हो जाता है, तो at a local level it will be more difficult. Okay, so these are some of the challenges that prevent us from making our cities more water sensitive. Okay, this is one small aspect of urban flooding, but this can also be a question in your environment. ठीक है, environment का भी ये question हो सकता है. Okay, so what is the way forward? What is the way forward? We should have an integrated approach. Look, remember one thing, whenever there is a point related to water management, whether it is for urban, rural or India in general, the question, the main mudda will always be integrated watershed management. आप कभी water को एक particular जगह पे isolation में नहीं handle कर सकते. For example, if I want to improve the water supply of this building, I am not just going to talk about this building. I am dependent on a river. That river is dependent on the catchment area. It is dependent on the streams, the glaciers. So water has a very integrated way of working. Okay, you cannot work in silos. So which is why watershed management will always become a part of your answer whenever you are talking about water conservation, reuse, rejuvenation, anything. All right, so integrated ecological approach, enhancing the capacity of drainage systems. जो भी तुम्हारे flaws थे या causes थे, उनका commensurate you can write. Okay, and create detailed flood hazard and zonation maps. So you know already what are flood zones and flood zone maps. Okay, and conservation and restoration of urban water bodies. Again, blue and green spaces. Okay, so this is an overall understanding of urban flooding. The initiatives as such related to urban flooding, ऐसा नहीं कि there will be some specific scheme on it. नहीं होगा, ठीक है? Because I told you water works in an integrated manner. All right? Okay. One final answer copy of a topper. This question is related to earthquakes. Okay, the question was specially related to earthquakes originating in Himalayas. This is again Animesh's answer copy. I really like his answers because his answers are crisp, to the point, and he touches all bases. So just let's take a look. He starts again his answer with the data. So if you see the level of preparation that he has done, हर चीज़ के लिए he has a data point ready. That okay, 59% of India is vulnerable to earthquakes. Okay. Then he talks about the zones. Seismic zones, you all study in classrooms, you know that, you can definitely prepare this. Then he talks about Delhi as such, because the question is asking about Delhi, and he talks about the Delhi Ridge. Okay, this is good to have, not must have, but good to have information. Okay, now if you see his points, the question is asking about what institutional measures have been taken, okay, and why do you think Delhi is vulnerable? So he says Delhi is vulnerable because of earthquake swarms, population density, violation of floor safety norms, then building design and sensitive terrain. And with every point, he probably gives an example or some data. Okay, simple hai. And then he talks about institutional measures to mitigate earthquake loss. So he talks about national policies. I told you national se start karo. You start with NDMA Act and all. Then he talks about National Retrofitting Code, which is basically retrofitting mission is for making the buildings more earthquake resilient. Okay. Then he talks about schemes. He talks about Prime Minister's 10-point agenda of disaster risk reduction. These are points which are pretty generic in nature, which is applicable to any hazard, any disaster, and you can include them. All right. He talks about bodies, NDMA, SDMA, NDRF. He talks about technology, a few apps, and then international frameworks like Sendai and Hyogo Protocol. Here we just discussed Sendai. Okay. And he talks about what are the present gaps, lack of community participation, institutional mechanism shortfall, awareness come here, technology, and we need to build back better. We just saw that in the case of disaster resilience. So remember, in disaster, the questions are specific with respect to examples. Examples and case studies is something where you will feel कि यार ये मुझे नहीं याद आ रहा या मुझे नहीं पता. That has to be prepared. The overall framework of disaster management in India is almost the same for all hazards. ये जो भी है, whatever he has written here is more or less true for even urban flooding if you look at it, right? I can say population density, I can say violation of building norms. These are all also parts of urban flooding. You realize that? So that framework for disaster management, keep it prepared beforehand, and learn to use more examples and case studies in your answers to make it more specific. All right, clear? Is this understood? Disaster management कोई डरने वाला topic नहीं है, it is rather one of the most scoring and easy topics. ठीक है, वही 4-5 टर्म्स हैं घूमती रहती हैं, रिस्क रिडक्शन, प्रिपेयर्डनेस, बिल्ड बैक बेटर, वही चीज़ें बार बार घूम रही हैं. और अभी नहीं, सालों से इंटरनेशनल फ्रेमवर्क और इंटरनेशनल फोरा पे भी वही हो रहा है. So nothing has really changed. So if you have certain terms and concepts clear in your mind, you can answer any question. बस you need certain schemes जो उस disaster, अब suppose landslide है, तो landslide risk at least तुम्हें पता होना चाहिए कि इसरो ने निकाली है. That will add value to your answer. Clear? Understood? That's all. Thank you.